Good morning, I'm Mai Rodriguez, sitting in for Mikey Oreta, and you're watching Basis Points, where we dive deep into the numbers and stories that drive our economy and shape our world. The headlines: a partial U.S. government shutdown looms as House lawmakers reject a new spending bill supported by President-elect Donald Trump. A third impeachment complaint is filed against Vice President Sara Duterte. And thousands of Amazon workers go on strike amid the holiday rush. First, let's take a quick look at the financial markets. On Wall Street, stocks ended a little change on Thursday. This is seen as an early rebound from a sharp drop in the prior session after the Federal Reserve forecast fewer than expected interest rate cuts and higher inflation next year. The S&P 500 was down by 0.9%. The Nasdaq also down by 0.1%. The Dow Jones, meantime, closed at 0.04%.
So today, obviously, we're getting a bounce back, which is good. I think one of the things when you see these spikes up in the VIX, it's very important to keep an eye on it. And so the VIX reached a level of about 27, which, again, was up 74%. You usually don't see a gap up again another day unless something really bad happens to solidify that news from yesterday.
Over in Europe, markets are also down. The FTSE slid 1.14%. Germany's DAX index shed 1.35%, and France's CAC 40 slipped 1.22%. In the Asia-Pacific, markets are mixed. Japan's Nikkei was up by 0.25%. South Korea's Kospi was down by 1%. Australia's S&P SAX 200 also down by 1.05%. The Bangko Sentral implements another round of interest rate cuts to continue the easing cycle to next year. Sujin Kim reports.
The central bank has once again slashed its target reverse repurchase rate by 25 basis points, bringing it down to 5.75%. Although there is a high possibility that the BSP's easing cycle will continue into next year, it is unlikely to reach a total of 100 basis points in cuts.
100 basis points may be a bit much. I think we will maintain an easing posture, but maybe not to the extent of cutting by 100 basis points. If the surprises are small enough, then there's no reason to really change the direction that we're taking.
BSP Governor Eli Remolona Jr. stressed that gradual rate cuts are crucial to avoid sudden shocks, especially as there are still significant upside risks to inflation, including rising electricity and transport costs.
Even with 75 basis points from all our estimates, we're still somewhat on the tight side, and that for us is a kind of insurance. The reason we're cutting in baby steps is because we're not absolutely sure about inflation. We still worry that inflation might start to rise again.
We will always tend to prioritize inflation. But there will be a measured pace in terms of monetary easing, even though the overall stance or posture of monetary policy is still towards monetary easing.
When the BSP relaxes policy rates, public and private consumption as well as investments typically see a boost.
Because, for example, a lower interest rate would mean that it would be less costly for firms, for companies, for entrepreneurs to borrow money from the bank. So the lower rates would allow them to expand further, borrow money geared towards expansion, which would drive economic activities.
Economists also note that holiday spending this season will play a crucial role in shaping policy decisions next year.
Filipino consumption is so high during November and December, which might affect our inflationary figures. So depending on the outcome of the holiday spending of the Filipino people, then we might be able to see more definite directions on whether the BSP would keep rates or continue relaxing.
Of course, lower interest rates are good. Hopefully, that will increase the borrowing side, but that will also possibly reduce the interest margins of the bank. So we have to weigh that carefully.
However, economists are also monitoring potential risks, including internal margins and external factors such as the Trump presidency and geopolitical risks.
But the thing is, but you need more cuts in able to stimulate more economic growth. No? So that's part of the realities. That's why the economic slowdown story is still there and made complicated by any protectionist policies by the incoming Trump administration.
Sujin Kim, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
A Florida impeachment complaint has been filed against Vice President Sara Duterte. Zandro Achona has more on this.
A coalition of Catholic priests and civil society groups have filed the third impeachment complaint against the vice president. The grounds they cited came from the investigation by the House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability, which bared how the vice president used its confidential funds.
Culpable violation of the Constitution. We also have the ground bribery. We also have the ground graft and corruption, plunder, malversation, and technical malversation. Ultimately, the ultimate ground is betrayal of public trusts.
The group insists lawmakers are now left with one obligation to the people.
The legal and constitutional obligation of the members of the House of Representatives to impeach and for the Senate to remove from office the sitting Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines. It has now become their moral obligation to do so.
We believe VP Sara committed something illegal and something immoral against the Filipino people. For us, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness.
Camarines Sur 3rd District Representative and Assistant Minority Leader Gabriel Bordado and Naambis OWA Party List Representative Lex Anthony Colada endorsed the impeachment complaint. In a statement, Bordado said as lawmakers they must protect the rule of law and the integrity of democratic institutions. Threats made by the VP against the president, including his family and the House Speaker, undermines public trust, threatening the stability of democracy, and sets a dangerous precedent for behavior unbecoming of a public official. House Secretary General Reginald Velasco said the complaint will undergo due deliberation in strict compliance with constitutional and legislative process. All the impeachment complaints are still at the office of the Secretary General. Zandro Ochona, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
We're taking a quick break. Stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and narratives that matter most to your bottom line. You're back on Basis Points. Trading at the Philippine Stock Exchange began earlier. Let's look at the initial figures. The main index is trading at 64.14 with an upward bias from yesterday's close of 63.95. Only the financial sub-index is in the red. The rest are heading to positive territory, holding firms, property, industrial services, mining, and oil. Gainers are leading at 61 issues. There are currently 23 laggards. So far, value turnover has reached more than 91 million. Meanwhile, at the foreign exchange market, the peso opened stronger at 58.98 against the dollar from its previous close of 59. Experts say the midterm elections next year are expected to boost the country's economic growth. How? Find out in this report by Sujin Kim.
Economists have mixed expectations for the country's growth rate in the first 2 quarters of the year. BDO Capital President Eduardo Francisco is optimistic, projecting a growth rate of 6 to 7%, while John Paulo Rivera from the Philippine Institute for Development Studies takes a more conservative stance, forecasting growth at 5 to 6%. With the midterm elections approaching, experts expect the country's gross domestic product to rise, thanks to the multiplier effect of election-related spending.
There'll be more money to be spent, especially from the election spending for consumer and for the food. So people will go to the malls, they'll eat out more, there'll be more conventions, they'll travel more. So even the ancillary businesses like, the food, the vans, diba? All of that is makikinabang. The hotels will be full.
Historical data shows that election seasons in the Philippines usually bring heightened consumption and economic growth.
Well, statistics have shown that every time the Philippines is running into an election period, consumption is actually increasing. And then the GDP growth for that particular quarter or year where elections happened do actually increase.
RCBC Chief Economist Michael Ricafort agrees, saying that election preparations significantly encourage business activities and drive economic growth.
Election-related spending, preparations for the midterm elections would definitely help boost the economy, especially during the campaign season and even before the campaign season.
However, former BSP Deputy Governor Diwa Ginigundo warns about the potential risk of excessive election spending, including its impact on inflation.
We know what happens during an election. No, there is so much spending by candidates, and the voters actually benefit from such spending. It may stimulate personal consumption expenditure and therefore growth, but at the same time, it could also abet a build-up in price pressure, inflation pressure.
Despite these challenges, Francisco believes that the increased economic activity provides the BSP room to further lower interest rates.
I think the silver lining for our economy is that because of in elections, there will be there'll be liquidity, and then there'll be a lot of activity. So that should give us ammunition to bring down rates also, hopefully.
Sujin Kim, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Said in an intensified crackdown of illegal online selling of firecrackers, police officials are collaborating with social media platform TikTok to detect scams online. Francis Falve reports.
3 online sellers of illegal firecrackers arrested in separate operations conducted by the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group in Tondo, Malabon, and Olongapo in Zambales. According to the PNP, this is a result of enhanced online transaction monitoring in line with the order of PNP Chief General Romel Marbil to ban the online sale of all types of firecrackers.
Regarding dito sa illegal selling of firecrackers. And yun po, itong mga platforms na ito ginagamit nila sa pagbebenta. And illegal po yung mga binibentang mga firecrackers, kaya in-engage ng mga cybercrime cops natin at yung mga operatiba natin ay nagsagawa ng entrapment operation, kaya po nahuli natin sila.
On Wednesday, the PNP and Bulacan LGU inspected rows of fireworks stores in Bukawi. DTI reminds consumers, ensure products have safety seal and are from legitimate distributors.
Huwag po kayong bibili ng mga produkto pailaw man o paputok na walang kumpletong label o kumpletong impormasyon sa kanilang label.
A collaboration between the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group and social media platform TikTok was formalized. According to the PNP ACG, the goal is to expedite TikTok's response to online scam reports. TikTok has recorded 108 incidents of scams from January to November 2024. The PNP ACG also revealed that in addition to scams, online platforms are sometimes used to exploit children.
Also po, isa pong concern ni TikTok is yung sa Women and Children Cybercrime Protection Unit natin dito sa PNP ACG. Gusto din nilang makipag-collab doon since yung mga TikTok videos doon, minsan or kadalasan po, merong mga batang involved. And ito din pong mga batang ito ay ginagamit sa mga exploitation materials at pinagkakapirahan ng ibang tao.
For TikTok, the collaboration is a great initiative to keep scammers off their platform. TikTok is banned in several countries such as the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, Belgium, Denmark, France, India, Indonesia, the Netherlands, New Zealand, and Taiwan due to security issues.
However, the PNP-ACG clarified that there are limitations to the information they will share with the social media platform. PNP-ACG reminds social media users to ensure your transactions are with trusted individuals and refrain from creating and posting content that violates the law for a better start of the new year. Francis Polbe, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Honda, Japan's second largest car company, and Nissan, the third largest, are in talks of a possible merger. Reuters reports both car makers have lost ground in China, the world's biggest auto market. But it's still not clear if this merger can help them recover. An executive fellow at the Itochu Research Institute in Tokyo warns about the speed at which Chinese electric vehicle makers have been able to innovate. Honda reported a 15% drop in quarterly profit last month. Nissan is also struggling and plans to cut 9,000 jobs globally. A Republican spending bill backed by President-elect Donald Trump failed to get enough votes at the U.S. House of Representatives on Thursday. This leaves Congress with no clear plan to avert a looming government shutdown. Voting 174 to 235, the bill resembled the earlier version rejected by Trump. Government funding is due to expire at midnight on Friday, U.S. time. If lawmakers fail to extend that deadline, the U.S. government will begin a partial shutdown and would interrupt funding for everything, including paychecks for more than 2 million federal workers. Malaysia's High Court acquitted Rosmah Mansour, the wife of jailed former Prime Minister Najib Razak, of money laundering and tax evasion. The court cites insufficient grounds to charge her. Both Najib and Rosmah have been the subject of multiple graft investigations, including their alleged involvement in the 1MDB scandal. Both have repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. Thousands of Amazon workers go on strike Thursday in the crucial final days of the holiday season. This after union officials said the online retail giant failed to come to the bargaining table. Union workers from New York City, Illinois, Atlanta, and Southern California will join the picket line to seek contracts for better wages and work conditions. Amazon has yet to issue a statement. The strike could disrupt Amazon's operations during its busiest season of the year. People in storm-ravaged Mayotte booed French President Emmanuel Macron during his visit there. They demanded that he should do more to help them recover from the onslaught of Cyclone Chido. Officials in France's poorest overseas territory have confirmed 31 fatalities days after the storm, but many suspect the death toll could reach thousands. Macron said his government would send more relief supplies soon. And that's it for Basis Points. I'm Mai Rodriguez. We'll be back next week for news on the financial markets and more. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.